Welcome once again to Musings by Danon. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Danon, and my two favorite genres are fantasy and romance. So on this channel, we talk a lot about both of those genres, which brings me to today's topic. The top 10 high school romance manga that don't have an anime. Now, just to be clear, I'll be including light novels in the list. Also, if a series has an anime announced, I won't be including it. Otherwise, All You Sometimes Hides Your Feelings in Russian would be at the top of the list. Now, before we get started, I'd like to quickly ask you to like and subscribe. It really does help the channel, and it's free. With that out of the way, let's get into the video. Romance is a genre that I've been enjoying a lot lately. Whether it's a seinen or josei story with adults or a cute shonen series with tsunderes not knowing their feelings, romance is just fun. It warms the cockles of my heart to see people fall in love with each other and form a life together. Sometimes I want a more realistic romance, but other times the crazy romance of a couple of kids realizing their feelings for each other just hits the spot. Now, I said earlier that I won't be including series that have an anime. This also means I won't be including Inutakuzu, also known as Dog and Scum. Though there hasn't been an anime adaptation, the series was made into a drama. Finally, though almost all series have a bit of romance in them, I won't be including those stories. Romance needs to be the focus, or at least the driving plot of the series. Now, as I was going through my spreadsheet of series that I'm currently reading, and narrowing it down to my top 10, I realized something. I needed to split this list. There is a difference between reading a high school romance and an office romance. So this list will only be high school romances. Quick announcement before we get into our video. I've started streaming on Twitch. There's a link down below in the video description, but the address is twitch.tv/DanonWildfire. Feel free to swing by. I'll be talking about Commander, anime, manga, or whatever else chat wants to discuss. I'm streaming on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Unless I've got an event at my kid's school to go to. The Unattainable Flower's Twisted Bloom is a manga series about a girl who enjoys being tied up and the boy who falls in love with her. He doesn't start out as a sadist, but by fulfilling his girlfriend's twisted desires, he starts to become one. This series takes a deep dive into bondage, humiliation, and related fetishes. If you're wanting a cute little vanilla romance, do not read it. But if you're curious about fetish culture, give this one a read. Despite being about a rather racy topic, the manga is fairly tame in its artwork and approaches the topic from a mature standpoint. Next up on our honorable mentions is Tenkosaki, the neat and pretty girl at my new school is a childhood friend of mine who I thought was a boy. When you're a child, you don't pay attention to gender. There's no difference between girls and boys when it comes to friend groups. What matters is taste in video games, what sports you like to play, and proximity. You want friends you can see every day, right? But sometimes friends leave. I know I moved around a bunch when I was a kid due to my dad's job. Every once in a while you get to meet up with an old friend after a move, and if you're lucky, you can follow your friend and move to the same town they moved to all those years ago. Kirishima transfers schools and, as fate would have it, gets seated next to Nikaido. Only Nikaido isn't a boy like he always thought. No, Nikaido is a girl. And she's not a tomboy either. She's a prim and proper lady. At least, that's the persona she adopts at school. Nikaido soon realizes that Kirishima thought she was a boy back when they grew up together in that remote village. So she decides to tease him a bit. But Kirishima soon figures out what's going on, and the two quickly start hanging out together like they did as kids. Now, there are only hints of romance between our two main characters. What I enjoy most is the absolute comfort they feel in each other's presence. She's finally able to be herself instead of the perfect girl persona she plays at school. And after relaxing around him, she's able to relax around others as well. No matter what you say, Fiori-san is Scary is a manga that I've already done a video on, and it has a satisfying ending. Our manga begins on the first day of high school, and young Tiara Namato gets sat next to Fiori Yoko. He's excited to be sitting next to a girl, but when he enters the class, he finds out that she's a hard-eyed Yankee. Only she's not really a Yankee. She just thinks blonde hair is cute. And the bruises on her body aren't from fighting a rival gang, they're from her little brother. A cute part about this series is Fury starts immediately crushing on Tiara, but doesn't know how to express herself. I'll post a link for this one down below so you can order yourself a copy. And now, without further ado, on to our top 10 list. Hitomi-chan is shy with strangers is similar to Fury-san. Our main character, Usami Yu, is on the train to school when a large, scary girl slams her hand against the wall. He soon realizes that she's actually protecting him from the press of humanity that would smash a small boy like him. Of course, her face is very scary, so he runs away from her. She follows after him and eventually catches him, spins him around, and before he can apologize, she asks if she can go to school with him. You see, she just changed schools and didn't know the way. It turns out that Takano Hitomi, despite her large frame and scary shark-like teeth, is actually a shy and awkward girl. She didn't even realize that her smartphone had a map. The two start to hang out, and Usami's little sister actually is in the same class as Hitomi. The manga is very soft and a very cute romance where Hitomi sometimes does crazy things, but it's balanced by the fact that she's so humble and awkward. I'll post a link down below for people who want to order this series. This series is still ongoing, but it does have an official release. The Tsundere girl getting less and less soon day by day was a Twitter manga that completed this year. Most of the 106 chapters are only a page or two. The series is almost all from the main character's point of view. He joins the manga club after transferring to a new school and meets Tsundere-chan, and she is not happy that he's joining the club. What do you mean by tsundere? No, I'm not making up her name. The artist calls her Tsundere-chan. Pretty soon, she gets into trouble, but our main character saves her. This causes her to soften her attitude towards him. A little bit, but only a little. What do you mean you live next to me? Don't say good morning to me. Gross. As this series progresses, Tsundere-chan becomes less and less soon and more dare, which is adorable to see. And since each chapter is only a page or two, it won't take you long to read. Sadly, this one isn't officially out in English yet, but with a little bit of digging, I'm sure you can find it online. Please Go Home Makoto Son, on the other hand, does have an official release. This series is in the bullying genre, similar to Don't Toy With Me Nagatoro. Akutsu is one of the Yankee gals in class. I suppose I should take a minute and explain the difference between a Yankee and a gyaru. A Yankee is basically a punk. They're usually gang members, delinquents of some kind. They dye their hair to rebel. They are violent and use intimidation to get what they want. A gyaru is more concerned about fashion. The bigger and flashier, the better. Both styles fly in the face of classical Japanese aesthetics of beauty, and both are originally based on American styles, but have evolved in the intervening decades. I felt it was important to denote the difference, as some of the manga we'll be discussing have Yankees, and some have gyaru. Anyway, back to this manga. Akutsu finds out that her classmate Uyama lives alone in a small apartment near the school. She decides to make his place her new hangout spot. After all, he's got lots of manga and video games. It's just like a manga cafe, but for free. And she's got a weak little servant she can bully into getting her food and taking care of her. Only, a lot of Akutsu's bullying is in the form of enforcing standards on him. Stand up straight, look me in the eye, stop mumbling, speak up. Which causes Uyama to become less of a pushover and act more forthright. He's less of a shy loner type and more manly. Which causes Akutsu to start developing feelings for him. In other words, Akutsu accidentally trains Uyama to become her ideal man. I want a gal gamer to praise me as about a boy, Raito Sasuke, who sucks at Apex. Of course, the manga never says the word Apex because of copyright issues, but it's obvious what game they're talking about. One day, Raito decides to hire a coach to help him stop sucking. The person he hires is one of the top-ranked players in the game. She's also a gyaru. Suzuki Rion is a pink-haired, mini-earringed gyaru with a big smile and an even bigger heart. She's outgoing, cheerful, and a joy to be around. So you've got a super awkward dork of a main character who has to get over having a girl in his room, and he's on the clock to do it fast because he only paid for a 3-hour coaching session. But Rion doesn't make it easy for him. Of course, she doesn't realize the effect she's having on him, she just wants to play video games with him. Rion eventually finds out that Sasuke attends her school, but hasn't been coming, so she convinces him to return. That way they can see each other every day. After all, she's in the gaming club, and they need more members. Now, this manga may look a little weird to some people. It started on Pixiv, an image sharing site, but it was eventually picked up. The official English release comes out in March, so feel free to pick it up. I hope they printed with all the bright colors. Rion is a lot cuter with pink hair. No More Love with the Girls is a series I'm hoping gets released in English soon. It wouldn't surprise me if there was an anime announced for it as well. Our main character, Sakai Yonosuke, is convinced that all of his super hot childhood friends aren't interested in him romantically. They probably don't even see him as a man. I mean, why else would his neighbor, Minamo Shio, crawl into bed with him almost every morning? And what other reason is there for his other childhood friend, Hidoshi Akari, to constantly yell at him? Other than being a tsundere who can't be honest with her feelings, of course. The problem is, Akari and Shio are friends with each other and don't want to hurt the other person by dating Yonosuke. They all grew up together, and all of them are afraid of change. Besides, rom-coms aren't real, and they certainly won't happen on the way to school, or even after an indirect kiss. The series is very funny and plays on the tropes common in most harem rom-coms, while itself being a harem rom-com. It basically took my least favorite premise, childhood friends, and made me not hate them as much. As I said earlier, this series is good enough that it wouldn't surprise me if an anime got announced soon. Yanshigal no Anjo-san is one of those I can't believe this series doesn't have an English release yet. No, seriously, there's an English wiki dedicated to this manga. The author found out about it and kind of freaked out on Twitter, especially since there isn't a Japanese wiki. Anjo is a gyaru and she sits right behind Saito. She spends her school days teasing this poor studious boy relentlessly. But unlike Nagatoro, she's not mean about it. Just naughty. The reason she teases him? One day, some boys in class were talking trash about Anjo and she overheard it. She also overheard Saito defend her. This caused him to go from classmate who sits in front of me to an interesting guy in her mind. The thing that's great about this series is the growth of the characters. Not just Anjo and Saito, but the supporting cast as well. They all grow up slowly as the series progresses, going from children to young adults. Also, the artwork is amazing and the teasing is top-notch. Absolutely worth a read. I Want to End This Love Game actually releases next month. Link down below so you can order yourself a copy. I've been thinking about doing a video just on this series, but I've talked about it before on this channel, and it's on this list anyway, so here we go. Yukai Asagi and Miku Sagara are childhood friends who have been playing the I Love You game for 4 years with no end in sight. For those who didn't watch Komi-san, let me explain what the I Love You game is. You confess your feelings to someone, and whoever blushes loses. The game is supposed to make your opponent's heart race, make them embarrassed, or at least make them turn red. Only, these two have been doing it for so long, they've upped the ante to a ridiculous degree. The problem, of course, is that they really are in love with each other. So hearing the other person confess to them really does get their heart racing. But they can't show that, because then the game would be over. which is something both of them yearn for, but are afraid of at the same time. You and I Are Polar Opposites doesn't release in paper until May, but you can read this entire series on the Manga Plus app for free. Unlike a lot of other romance manga, this one starts out with a confession. Well, there's one at the end of the first chapter. Miyu Suzuki is a pink-haired gyaru who is crushing on Tani, the stoic, quiet boy in class. He's not shy or awkward or anything, he's just a man of few words. He gets his point across and goes on about his business. He's not rude, just blunt. Tani doesn't seem to care how others view him or think of him. And Miyu is attracted to that, especially since Miyu is constantly stressing about how others think of her. One day, she works up the courage to ask him to walk home with her. And on the way home, their hands brush against each other. When she doesn't pull away, Tani awkwardly holds her hand. Miyu is in heaven. She's so happy and excited that she can't sleep, and winds up late to school the next day. One of her friends asks if she's dating Tani, and she says, "No, it's not like that, we're not dating." Of course, Tani overhears this and leaves. Miyu confesses everything to her friends. She's had a crush on him, and she's finally got the courage to ask him to walk home with him, but that's it. Her friends encourage her to chase after him and clear things up, and she does. And so, by the end of Chapter 1, we have a new couple. But there are 46 chapters in this manga at the time of recording. So, unlike a lot of other romance, where the couple getting together is the point of this one is how they grow closer to one another after they've started dating. This manga leans more heavily into the comedy side of romance, but romance is still there, and it is very sweet. I'll post a link down below so you can order Volume 1 yourself, as well as a link to Manga Plus where you can read it online. A Rough Lady is Being Deceived was actually introduced to me by the infamous Sid Snap. I know, it's not what you think. This one is actually wholesome. It's honestly a lot like Much Ado About Nothing. You have a boy who hates the idea of romance and is the head of the Public Morals Committee, and a girl who is the prince of the school who thinks boys are gross. Basically, Benedict and Beatrice. Of course, she's a tsundere who takes forever to realize why she's in love with this guy, and he's just as stubborn, if not more so. The series went on hiatus for a long while because the author had a baby, but it's back and I'm loving the new chapters. Unfortunately, this one isn't released in English yet. I'm hoping it will be soon. The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity is a manga I've talked about before on this channel, and it is finally getting a physical release this summer. Both volumes 1 and 2 will be out in June and August, respectively. This is a Romeo and Juliet story about a boy who goes to a public school, dating a girl from an all-girls private school. The schools are right next to each other, and the private school teachers all tell their girls to avoid the ruffians next door no matter what. But Rintaro, a boy at the public school, despite having a fierce appearance, is actually a soft boy with a big heart. And Kuroko knows this, because she met him at his family's cafe shop. But soon after their meeting, he discovers that Kuroko attends the all-girls school. Can their blossoming relationship survive the hatred between their schools? What will their friends think? This manga is gorgeous both in artwork and story. The setting is heavy, but through honesty, open-heartedness, and perseverance, the two star-crossed lovers avoid the fate of young Capulet and Montague. At least so far. I know that this one will be getting an anime, I just don't know when. Manga that sell 1 million copies with only 10 volumes released and receive numerous awards almost always get anime adaptations. Did I miss any? Which manga or light novel should I have included? Leave a comment below. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, a huge shout out to my editor Cute Stuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, she can be reached at cutestuff.edits@gmail.com. Link is down below. If you're looking for ways to support the channel directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/Danon. There are several tiers to choose from. You could pick an anime or manga for me to do a video about, or you can join our monthly manga club. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons. Waffles, Jiraiya, Danny, Muffins, Marcus, Squishy, Brett, Roxy, Josh, Sean, Pob Zombie, Mark, Borgie, Jake, Exiled Rogue, Nazwin, Pedro, Aaron or Tom, Echo Fox, Midge, Swifty, Lucius, Detroff, and Rally. You guys are awesome. I post anime or manga videos often, or you can click here to watch additional videos. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time on Musings by Danon.